Ideal Protein Nation, guess who's back? And it's October. Good Lord, where's the time going? I don't get it. 2022 is flying by faster than ever. I have an incredible show for you today. Long in the works. I've been talking with this clinic owner now for a few weeks. I'm so excited to bring all the great wisdom that she's got for you all, because everybody's going to be inspired and motivated to learn something today. So without further ado, for those of you that might be new to the Life Possible podcast, the Life Possible podcast spotlights successful clients, coaches, and clinic owners who have used the Ideal Protein protocol to reset their body, reset their mind, and actually reset what's possible for their life. These people are pursuing goals and dreams they thought were dead and gone. They're pursuing goals and dreams they never even imagined they could. And in some cases, they're pursuing goals and dreams they never even knew they wanted to. In short, they're living what we in Ideal Protein Nation like to refer to as life possible. Who am I and why am I even doing this? Well, I tell you what, there's no easy way to put it. 7 years ago, I was fat, sick, and depressed, and I didn't see a way out. I had never had a weight problem before, but just like everybody, anxiety and depression drove me to overeating and drinking, always thinking I could get myself out. But when I finally tried again, this time I couldn't. I had ruined my metabolism and I had no idea what happened, and I gave up. Long story short, I feel like God brought me the Ideal Protein protocol as the answer to all of my prayers. Now, I'm living a life where I feel healthy, vibrant, and alive. I'm living my own life possible. I'm over 50 pounds down from that original picture there. And last September, actually a year ago, I completed my first half Ironman distance triathlon, which was a 20-something life possible goal I thought was dead and gone. So who do we have this week or this month or however often I do this thing? We've got clinic owner Stephanie Purdy. So excited. Stephanie is the clinic owner of Purdy Ideal U Weight Loss in Point Edward, Ontario, Canada. Stephanie has been a clinic owner for 10 years, and her journey started 10 years ago when she lost over 50 pounds using the Ideal Protein program herself. So without further ado, let's bring Stephanie in. Hey, how are you, Steph?
I'm great, John. How are you? Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I am so excited to have you here. Like this started about over a month ago, right? When you reached out to me and you said you thought you had something to share. And I'm so glad you did, because I think that you've got a lot to share with Ideal Protein Nation.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You've been telling me, and one of the things that we talked about, that you're really pretty busy these days. How are things going at the clinic?
Things are great. Actually, earlier, about an hour ago, I just finished up with another new client. I have 3 more new ones rolling in on Wednesday. The phone is definitely ringing. It's interesting here. We get a little surge in September, and then we get our next surge right after Canadian Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So
right.
we're a week post Thanksgiving. So then a lot of people, it's that window between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they want a miracle. And I just think as close to miracles they're going to get. So, yeah.
Well, you know what, though? There's what? We got 8-10 weeks now. That's a great window.
Right?
Having Thanksgiving so far separated from Christmas, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we're fortunate. You guys run that. They're kind of neck and neck with one another. But here we've got some good space between the turkey dinners, and yeah, it's a great time, for a good little reset. That's for sure, or to get a good jump start. That's for sure. I personally started Ideal Protein on Halloween, so October 31st of 2011. Yeah. So what a day to start, right? It's always interesting. And I can still picture myself out trick-or-treating that night with the kids, and, right. Because how often you just reach into the bag and pop one of those chocolate bars, but no,
Yeah, right.
Wasn't doing it.
Yeah, no, we talked about this. It seems like the fall is a very busy season for Ideal Protein clinics. A lot of people after the coming off summer, coming in to do a reset or even just a restart, because it is a great time to be able to lose that weight before the holiday season really kicks in. And also, it doesn't seem like New Year's resolutions are holding the same amount of weight in people's minds. You had some insight on that you.
Yeah, I just really feel like more and more, I think people are really shying away from those. Like I just feel like they feel like they're redundant. They feel people judge people even a lot more. People roll their eyes like, oh yeah, okay, heard that before. So
Right.
I have just noticed over the last handful of years, especially, that September is actually where we tend to get more of a surge,
Yeah.
because people are getting back to routine, and people
Mhm.
literally crave routine in the fall, getting the kids back to school, getting back to that sort of, because summer just tends to be messy for a lot of us. And I don't mean that in a negative sense,
Right.
um, but it's just back to that. And ideal protein just fits so perfectly into a schedule and into a routine. And it's perfection, really. And when people discover that, like, they can't wait to jump in and get involved.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So let's get the show started by talking about your own ideal protein journey. We're talking about way back. You were saying 2011.
2011, October 31st, 2011. I had just, well, the year prior, so September of 2010 was when this picture was taken. That's the evening
Okay,
of my 40th birthday. And as
there you
much,
go.
right? And as much as I despise the word fat, and I try to use the word like never, unless we're physically talking about fat on your body or how you're going to
Right,
burn fat on ideal
right.
protein. But my personal story is, I did not, I was bound and determined that I was not going to be fat and 40, because that is a label a lot of women wear. And I was bound and determined that that wasn't going to happen. Um, However, it was it was what happened.
Yeah,
But again, it is what it is, and there's no shame in that. It was just my reality. And thankfully, I had found out about ideal protein about a year before I actually started it. So a
okay.
dear friend of mine, her name is Lisa. She lives about 3 hours away from me, and I don't see her very often because of geography. But I was coaching hockey at the time, and we happened to be in her area. So she showed up at the rink to watch one of our games, and she walked into the arena, and I literally like did a double take, and my chin dropped. I was like,
Yeah,
"Holy cow! Like, what happened to you?" Oh, I did this program, Ideal Protein. I lost 35 pounds in 13 weeks. And I was like, sign me up. Like, how do I do it?
yeah.
So it turns out she was in a chiropractor's office. Her and her
Okay.
chiro had thought about it, decided they would try it, and then implemented it into their clinic. And she became the Ideal Protein coach. And I, of course, was like, Kay, how do I get the stuff? Can you send it to me?
Yeah.
I realize now that it doesn't work like that. But um, she instructed me to find a clinic, and the closest clinic was over an hour away. So I put IP
Wow.
on the back burner. But
Okay.
interestingly enough, my cousin, who lives in Western Canada, had come home for a visit and asked me to go out for coffee. She brought up ideal protein. And it's like, okay, this is interesting. Yes, I've heard of it, but I was on another diet bandwagon that happened to be coming through our town at the time. I was the chronic cereal dieter. So,
Gotcha. Yeah.
I said no thanks because that was working, which it quickly wasn't working. So next time she came home and the conversation came up, then I was like, okay, like how do I do this? And what had happened is, it turns out she owned two IP clinics in Fort McMurray, Alberta. And so
Okay.
she got her dad and stepmom to open the first clinic in our area, and I became their first client. So, and as
That's
you
neat.
know, Ideal Protein has built their entire business on walking billboards.
Right.
Ideal Protein has never spent a nickel on advertising. It's literally okay, what is going on with you? What are you doing?
Exactly. And that is
Right?
the reaction, right? I mean, that is the immediate reaction, just like you had with your friend, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So very quickly it was, what are you doing, Steph? What are you doing, Steph? So the clinic that I attended, I got them their first like 6 or 7 clients.
Yeah.
Um, so I was, doing my thing before I was doing my thing. So anyway, long story short, Ideal Protein wasn't for them, and I ended up taking over the clinic. And I really did not set out to do IP as a
Right.
business, but
Right.
it changed my life. It
Yes.
really, really did. It's something I didn't share with you, John, that I will bring up tonight, is that shortly after I'd had my child, I was diagnosed with um, hypothyroidism,
Okay.
which later was added Hashimoto's disease to that diagnosis. And
Okay.
I'm a Google person, right? You start Googling, you start doing research, and basically everything you read is like you're doomed to be overweight forever, right? Like
Yes.
they basically tell you there's no hope. So
Hmm.
I literally wore that as my shield. And I literally tried to put that into every conversation I possibly could
Wow.
to protect myself from judgment of other people, right? It's
Yes. Oh
please
my
don't
God.
judge me. It's not my fault. But okay, the whole bags of chips, at 2 in the morning, those were my fault, and those had nothing to do with my thyroid, right? So this is where we have to be careful sometimes with the lies we tell ourselves.
Oh,
Um,
yes. And you held out on me. You didn't even give me this material before. I love it though. This is huge. And I love the languaging that you use as far as that was my shield, right?
it was my
How
shield. Don't judge me. I have a
how
thyroid.
many people do that? Yep. How many people
Absolutely.
do that?
And I literally did the rolled over and surrendered, like, okay, I give up, I quit, right? And a lot of women, especially that I talk to, they're told once you hit 40 it's downhill from there. Once you
Yep.
hit 40, and you start with the premenopause, like, good luck, just expect you're going to gain 10 pounds a year. And a lot of women
Yes.
just be like, okay, that's going to be my reality. And it doesn't have to be. So not
No.
only did I lose 50 pounds on Ideal Protein, I also don't take thyroid meds anymore.
Oh my
And
God.
funny enough, I have like a different doctor from when I had then, because my previous doctor retired. And she
Yeah.
literally argues with me every time I go in. She's like, it's not possible. It's not possible because you're supposed to be on thyroid meds for the rest of your life. Like, you
Yep.
can't just go off them. And I'm like, well, I've been off them for 10 years. And so she keeps sending me
Wow.
for blood work. And like every time she's just like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
No.
my reality. That's my story.
And that's the thing. There are stories like this with a lot of different health conditions that people have, where doctors' minds are being blown because they've never seen anybody reverse it. They've never seen anybody get off medications. But right, I get those clients that come in and like, yeah, but you know what, doc, I hit menopause. I've got a bad thyroid. I've got this. I said, well, lucky for you, none of that stuff matters when we're doing the protocol, because I have not ever seen that slow down anybody's protocol. And that's one of the gifts of doing this from the inside out through metabolic transformation first.
Absolutely. Well said. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Yeah, and so too, I do want to touch on this because this is something you and I share a love of as well. Your story, where you lost your weight and went through the transformation, and in our lingo, it's the hero's story. The hero was in a victim role. She was overweight and did not like that, did not enjoy that at all. was trying her best to get out of it, couldn't get out of it. But finally, you found a
And
guy with a plan.
that's right. And to interject too, and it wasn't just because I didn't like the physical, it was I had a headache pretty much every day of my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep through the night. I was
Yeah.
lucky if I got, 3 or 4 hours at the beginning of the night, and then I'd fall back to sleep at 6 in the morning when it's
Ugh.
time to wake back up again.
Right.
Um, running home to take a nap and not telling anybody because there was shame involved with how tired I was that, I had to sneak home and
Yeah.
take a quick nap, and I didn't want anybody to find out about that. Like these shrouds of and people saying to me all the time, like, I live in a small community. I'm fairly well known in our area, and people were like, "I can't believe how much you accomplish in a day." La 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 la. But I would literally like fall through my back door at the end of the day and be like on my couch and feel like a horrible wife and mother because I like once I hit like home, I was useless.
Yeah.
Um, because I was just dead tired. And
Yep.
I hurt, like my
Yep.
body hurt, my back hurt, my knees hurt, and all of that. So like it's just
Yes.
amazing. Um, so when a client says, like, oh my gosh, like I don't remember the last time I had a headache, it's like high five, like right on. Like
Yeah.
those things make me happier than even when somebody loses a couple pounds, right?
Exactly. Yes. And we really do try to foster around here what we call a metabolic mindset as opposed to that diet mentality. And a
Mhm.
metabolic mindset is focused on how you feel. It's focused on those symptoms. It's focused on what has disappeared and what has reappeared, like your clarity in your brain, your energy, all of that stuff.
Your
So
eyesight
yeah,
shows, right?
you're
Like,
right.
right. I had, honest to goodness, I had cotton balls in my head for years. Like,
Yep.
and I would explain that to people. Like I
Yeah.
had cotton balls in my head, and all of a sudden, like they were gone, and it was like everything was clearer, more focused, sharper. Wow. Like,
I know exactly what you mean. And this is it though. This is the passion now, right? Because you
mhm.
never ever expected to feel this good again. Pretty much had written that stuff off. Even if you lost the weight, you didn't expect to feel this good again, right?
Correct. Correct. I felt better, at 42 than I did, at 38,
Yeah.
really, or
Yeah.
32, really. And today as a 52-year-old woman, sitting here, like I'm in the prime of my life, right? So 40, nah, let's do
Meh.
the 50s.
I love it.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Well, and so now what that does for you, you've lost the weight, you feel absolutely amazing. Oh my gosh, the clinic might close. Well, no, because I've got to save the people. I want to guide people. I want to take people through this journey myself, right? You,
Right,
you you
right.
want to complete that transformation from being a hero that overcame a problem to now becoming a guide and helping other people do the same because you can connect with them. You understand how they feel and you just want them to feel as good as you do now.
1,000%. And I have been a coach my entire life. I was a figure skater growing up, and in the figure skating community, you give back by you mentor the younger kids coming up
Mhm.
beneath you. And so at 10 years old, I was out as that little helper coach. And at 18 years old, I became a professional skating coach. And so like that's just a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
So to be able to take that coaching, and move it into this chair, and to be able to sit across from someone here in my clinic, and just champion them on.
Yeah.
um it's amazing, and that's the thing. It's very few people get to do rewarding work every day. And yes, there's days that are so hard, because we hear a lot of hard stuff, right?
Yes.
But there's a lot of hard stuff. Um, but I can never fully understand what somebody else's experience is because none of our experiences are the same. But man, like I've got compassion, because I know what my experience felt like, and if, you know, uh, knowing that and that pain, and even remotely seeing and identifying that in someone else,
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
can have any part in helping them peel away even a fraction of that, you know, that that's what it's all about. That's what
It
it's all
is.
about.
That's why we do what we do.
Absolutely.
So the thing that you kind of brought to me, and I really love this, and the topic that you wanted to discuss most was this topic that you say words matter, right? Language matters, words matter. Start
Yeah.
us off. Talk to us a little bit about why this is such a big deal for you.
Well, a big part of how, I phrase it is you'll catch people often, right? And they cling to certain phrases or they cling to certain beliefs. And you'll hear them say the same thing over and over and over again. And so the more they say that, right, then that becomes truth. So it's helping them realize that, okay, well, that's maybe how you used to do it, but that doesn't mean that's how you have to continue to do it. And you can
Hmm.
change the dialogue. So I call it flipping the script. But like the initial scenario that I kind of brought to you was, a big thing that I hear is people, it's especially with their family, right? Their family or their friends, right?
Yep.
People not understanding what they're doing and they'll try to offer them something. And then the person says, well, I can't have that. Or they
Yes.
say, or
Yes.
I'm not allowed to have that.
Yeah.
So many years ago, I love stories, and I have a lot of. I've worked with so many people, as you can imagine, over a 10-year period of time. And
Sure.
I have a story I love to tell in this scenario, and it was a 63-year-old woman I was working with, and she came in the one day, and she had been like the biggest Ideal Protein rah client, loved the program, feeling great, whatever. We start coming into the holiday season, and she comes in one day and I could just feel it in her, like there's something off, like, and it's like this kind of like energy, like she's just got this negative cloud
Yeah.
around. And so we did her weigh in, we did her measure, and it was like, okay, Peggy, like what's going on? Like, and it was just like she just and I said, what? Well, like it's just like there's all this stuff around the office and like there's all these Christmas treats and I can't have any of them. And it was literally, and in my
Yeah.
mind,
Temper tantrum.
right? And I'm trying not to judge her, right? Like, 'cause it literally felt like this toddler in front of me. But all of us have a toddler
That inner
inside of us,
toddler.
right? We do. We do. And sometimes it's identifying that, okay, that's little Steph having a temper tantrum, right? And how would I speak to little Steph? So, because prior to this, I would have probably, told little Steph all sorts of rotten things, right? Because the story I told myself in my head though was like, you shouldn't be doing that. I would shame little Steph, and you should know
Yep.
better. And what are you doing eating that? Blah blah blah, right? Well, that
Yeah.
doesn't get anybody anywhere, right? Because you would never shame someone that you love. You would never shame someone that you care about. You would never speak to your best friend the way you speak to yourself in the privacy of your
Right.
own mind,
Right.
right? So that's sort of step one. But back to Peggy, it was like this, well, I can't and I can't and I can't. And I said, okay, all right. So I said, who reached out to do Ideal Protein? Like, and she kind of looked at me funny. I said, well, like, why are you here? I said, like, who reached out? Well, I did. I said, okay. So then, when we covered the parameters of the program, we went through what the parameters of the program are, right? Well, yeah. And I said, okay. So then you made the choice to do the program. Yeah. I said, so then you made a choice. You knew coming into this what the parameters of the program were, and you made a choice. I said, nobody told you that you can't do something. Instead, you made a choice to do something, and you made a choice to improve your life, which all the weeks before this, you've been telling me that it's been doing that.
How great. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in this one moment, because you couldn't have a Christmas treat, right? Look at what happened here. I said, so instead of victimizing yourself and saying, well, I can't have any of that and I can't, how about you say, you know what? I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing not to. I've chosen not to. I'm not right now, because that's the thing too. We're never asking anybody to do anything forever, right? Now, some
Right.
people, like me personally, and nothing to do with Ideal Protein, I don't drink wine. I gave up wine, many, many years ago because of the way it made me feel, right? There's
Hmm.
something in wine that just doesn't work for me. So I made the choice to no, so that was something I gave up forever, right? Whereas some things, I chose to not have during phase one, but now in my maintenance, I have those things, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I want to have French fries, I'll have fries, right? So I have the choice, but I also know too, sometimes I don't choose something because of how it's going to make me feel, right? But
Right. Right.
ultimately, we all have choices. We have
Yes.
choices. And so
And
you
what
can choose to empower yourself with the choices that you make, or you can choose to victimize yourself. It's up to you.
And
It's up
that's
to
exactly it, right? She was victimizing herself using that languaging, I can't, right? When
you.
actually she could, right? Oh, no, you've got
100%.
it wrong. You absolutely can have those Christmas cookies. However, there's going to be consequences that come along with that. We're going to waste a week. We're going to do all kinds of stuff. Whatever. So if that's the choice that you want to make and you're willing to accept those consequences, then hey, go for it,
That's right.
right?
The other analogy I love to use is I always say to people, I said, it's like this. I said, I have a lead foot, I have a fast car, and I'm always in a hurry and I always have somewhere to be. So can I drive 85 kilometers an hour everywhere I go, even though the speed limit's 60? I absolutely can, right? I can
Yep.
drive 100 kilometers an hour if I want, right? But not without consequence.
Yeah.
So, and the consequence might not come today, it might not come next week, but eventually there's going to be a consequence. And the key is are you okay with the outcome? Are you okay with the consequence, right? And if my answer is yep, I'll pay the whatever the fine would be, all right, right?
Yep.
But I have a choice. I have a choice. Same with go ahead and eat the cake, but are you going to be okay with the consequence of your choice in the moment, right? And so a lot of
Right.
times people, when they filter it through that, it's like, oh no, it's not worth it. Okay, see? But you've got the choice. Empower yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that is when you give them that gift of the languaging to talk to their peers who are pressuring them, right? And get them say, you know what, I could, however, I'm choosing not to for now, for
Mhm,
this week, for this season, this year. I'm just taking this one time. It's not like it's forever. But I'm making that choice because, wow, I always tell people to say, yeah, I'm on this medical protocol right now. And, that I'm choosing not to have that because
mhm,
I haven't felt this good in forever. And I feel amazing.
mhm,
Oh, and I have lost some weight.
mhm.
It
Yes,
goes, it
yes,
goes
yes.
along with how you feel, right?
For sure, for sure. And there's the odd time too with clients that they have. It's amazing how much people don't like taking no for an answer when it comes to food.
Yeah.
I right? It's amazing.
You got your pushers.
That's right. And trying to help clients realize that it's not, that has nothing to do with them, has
Yep.
everything to do with the other person.
Yes.
And, I always say to people too, if it comes down to it, and if it's easier, then that's where you tell the white lie. And I remember using it myself and saying to somebody, because it was easier. Well, actually, I have a thyroid problem, which was true at the
Right,
initial 2
right.
program, and then saying, the doctor, everything's kind of gone haywire right now. The doctor doesn't know what's going on, so he's got me on this strict protocol. And then
Nice.
as soon as the doctor got brought in, they're like, oh, and they
Yes.
back away.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when you can blame it on, sometimes it's easier just to blame it on something else, but eventually we have to be able to step into our power and own our truth, and own like all the pluses that are coming out of this
Yes.
beautiful protocol, right? That it's not just a diet, because that's what people want to roll their eyes at, is, oh God, 'cause
Exactly.
I can tell you, my husband was like, oh, here she goes again. Like,
Right, right.
all right, what's her latest one? Because he'd seen me, sorry, try so many.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you absolutely nailed it there. It's a whole situation of, oh, he's diet. As long as it's focused on diet and losing weight, then in their head, that's where the switch flips. And oh, well, if I'm not dieting, I know I should be dieting and losing weight. I'm going to try subconsciously or consciously, I'm going to try to sabotage them. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy to see.
But take your
Um,
power back, people. Take your power back. Flip your script and
there it
really
is.
try to listen, listen to your own script sometimes, and what you say. Um, Me personally, I found myself, sitting talking with clients, and they might be talking about emotional eating. And I'd find myself saying, yeah, I'm an emotional eater too. And then one day it kind of clicked in my head that, oh, wait a second, I keep telling myself that. And if I keep telling myself that, that's going to continue to be my truth. Right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I can change that wording. So a lot of times it's that I'll catch myself even still today and be like, I'm working really hard at, not turning to food, to soothe my emotions,
Hmm.
because I'm not quite there yet with the I'm not an emotional eater, because I'm still a work in progress. Um, and that's okay too.
But I think I'm gonna really segue all the way to what we had later in the show on the notes. But I think this is the perfect segue for, misusing labels and languaging. Um, you know, I experience emotional eating rather than I am an emotional eater, right?
Hmm.
One
Hmm.
is an identity and the other one is a behavior that you experience from time to time, but that doesn't mean that's who you are.
Correct. And this is where I talk about labels that
Yeah.
people slap on themselves, right? Like,
Yes.
we're not luggage. We're not we're not, we don't wear bumper stickers. But it's amazing how many people come in wearing certain labels. And
Hmm.
it's like, you can choose to wear that label, and you can wear that label for the rest of your life, or you can choose to peel that sticker off and just be here, or replace it with a different sticker, replace it with a new reality, replace it with a different story.
Yes.
Me personally, the more we can get away from labels that we wear, and I feel very passionate about that in many aspects of our life. um, you know the If we can just all get to being good, kind human beings, who support one another and lift one another up, like, oh, who cares about anything else, right?
Right.
um, I think the world would be a much better place. But you have the power, to peel those labels off. It's up to you.
And like you said, you can flip that script and label, just like anything. Labels can be very negative and they can take you one way, but also labels can be very empowering. And I'll never forget when I started running and training for triathlon again. There was a day Well, actually, walking into the transition zone on my very first race back. It was a very small race, but nonetheless, it was a race. Oh my
Oh,
God! I can't even believe. And I walked, and it said, athletes only area,
wow.
and I was
Wow.
just kind of like, I'm an athlete, right?
Mhm,
And being able to wear that label was so empowering. And, it really, not only am I an athlete, I am a triathlete after I finished that first race again. And it's just a super empowering label that you can wear that helps you, because like I used to coach my clients and say, look, certain behaviors then are don't jive with the label that you're wearing. As a triathlete, you know what?
mhm.
You shouldn't find me chowing away at Dunkin' Donuts at 3 in the afternoon. I mean, that's just that it doesn't jive with who I've become.
Right, right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, and how inspiring. I remember I used to volunteer for a triathlon when I lived on the west coast of Canada, and I had the lovely job of being able to write the numbers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the athletes would come and drop their wetsuit in front of me, and I'd have to like, that was a rough job.
Yeah,
Good for you.
well, it's also kind of funny and humbling when one of the things that they do is they write your age on one of your calves so that
Oh, I
they
never
can
did
kind of
that.
be
That's interesting.
they can be following where you're supposed to be in your age groups and all that stuff. And so every time somebody whizzes past you on the bike or on the run, you look down at their calf to see how old they are. You're like, oh yeah, 25, 36. But when the 70-year-old guy passed me at the end, I was like, oh,
Oh
too
man.
funny.
But
All right.
kudos. Hey, just showing up, just showing up. It's the same with
Absolutely.
here at the clinic. When somebody picks up that phone for the very first time to make the phone call to say, hey, I'd like more information about your program, that is strength. When somebody shows up and walks through the door for the very first time, that is strength. That's,
Yeah.
and then to eventually become, a triathlete, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But again, that is the definition of life possible. And everybody's is different. Everybody's is individual.
For
And
sure.
and seeing people write their own stories, rewrite their own stories, and enter chapters like that they never thought they could. Again, like you said, this is the best job in the world.
And people would say to me, so what do you do? And I say, I just have a happy place I hang out. Right? This is very rare that you get to, be, because there's a customer service component to what we do. So,
Yep.
to work in customer service and not get yelled at every day, to actually have people leave feeling, happy and healthy and
Right.
inspired and all the
Right.
rest. Oh,
Right.
it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding.
So yeah, I'm going to go to the segue then that you actually led us into when you said, taking that first step, reaching out and making that call is sometimes the bravest thing someone can do.
Mhm.
And I think it stems from something that we discussed, that concept that everybody just kind of feels like they're the only ones that struggle with these problems. They're the only ones that think this way. And that's why I do this show so that people can understand and identify with that everybody struggles with pretty close to the same things. There might be a different spin on it, but pretty close to the same stuff.
100%. I've if I've said it once in a day, I've said it many times that to a client, I said, I know you think that you're the only one. I said, but your mind would be blown at how many times, in a day, in a week, you literally hear, basically the same story. Yet we know that so many people do suffer in silence. They suffer
Yes.
at home alone, and they think it's only them. And the last thing they want to do is tell somebody their truth. And that's where, even for me as a coach for a lot of years, I I've always been open with my clients, but I really found to a certain degree. I still
Mhm.
really felt like I had to kind of show off my resume, and I had to show off my achievements and my certifications and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but instead, over the years, as I've let go, of more and more of that, because a lot of people really don't even care about that. um, what they care about is that you understand them, you hear them, you feel them, you don't judge them. um, and that I've done exactly what they've done. So I lead now with, yeah, I know what it's like to drive through a drive through and order. Like, I've done it many times where I've gone through and ordered a dozen donuts and then got, two coffees and a hot chocolate, so they didn't think all dozen donuts were for me, like, I make it look like I'm
Wow.
in the office.
Yeah.
um that sort of thing. How many times just during COVID I had a situation where I wasn't in a good place. I'd let COVID get to me, and I
Hmm.
slumped back into poor eating habits, which then for me leads to really poor sleep. So then when I don't sleep, I eat. So I had got up
It's
in
a
the middle of the
vicious
night,
cycle.
and I can't remember if it was chips or if it was ice cream, whichever it was. Like, when I open a see, here's where I have to catch myself, because what I would say previously is when I open a bag of chips, I'm hitting the bottom. Or when I open the Haagen-Dazs, I'm hitting the bottom, right? So
Yeah.
this is where I'm personally still working on myself with,
Hmm.
okay,
In the
so
language.
then though, I emptied whatever it was, I can't remember, and I hid the package in my
Hmm.
computer bag. Okay, and my computer bag always sits on the kitchen floor, zipped up. Well, I got up in the morning and my computer bag was open, and like the evidence was there. Now,
No.
oh yeah, and it took me almost 2 weeks before I had the conversation with my husband about it, because
Yeah.
I was in such a shame spiral over
Right.
the fact that I'd been caught. And him finally saying, and he was looking for like the cord, or like he wasn't
Right.
looking for my stash. He
He
was,
wasn't like, "Where's the chips? I know there's a
no,
bag
not
here
not
somewhere."
at all. But it was the fact that that particular day is when
Yep.
he found my hiding spot of where I'd
Yep.
hid the evidence. Because, like, I would like eat the chips, and then, well, the chips are gone now. So if he goes looking for the chips, where are the chips? So I'd go to the store and replace the chips.
Yes.
Oh, like
Oh, been
like
there.
I
Yes.
know, like, I know what people go through because
Right.
I've
Right.
lived it, right? So no, you are not alone. And I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. Like, we hear these stories constantly. And I think the more that people can release that shroud of
Yep.
shame, because shame
Yes.
is what keeps all of us stuck. I personally worked with a coach during COVID, and she always talks to me about my shame stick, right? Because I like to
Yes.
beat myself with it. And shame keeps me stuck. Shame keeps all of us stuck.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we need to let that go. And it's not that easy, but you can do it. You can do it. And yeah, there's hope, and there is change ahead for you. You can
Yeah.
absolutely do it.
But you can't do it alone. And again, I really kind of feel like that is now the value of the ideal protein coach, and the value of an ideal protein coach who has taken the journey and has, like you said, lived those scenarios, right? I
Right.
mean, again, that's what stirs the passion for us to find those people who are suffering from their shame and who are going through this and feel like they are alone and that there is no answer.
Right.
That is our passion, and that is our story now, as guides, as ideal
Absolutely.
protein coaches. And I love what you said about, they almost don't care about the credentials and all this stuff. And I do that well, here's a funny thing, and I'll share with you that I haven't shared. When I do my workshop, being a doctor, I kind of feel like people expect me to say, well, this is my degree and blah, blah, blah. And I do all that. And I say, but you know what? I don't feel like any of that qualifies me to host the Ideal Protein program in my office or even coach clients. And then I throw up my before and after picture. And usually one or two jaws will drop because they have no idea that I was ever overweight. Right.
Right.
And it's so funny. You and I met at an Ideal Protein conference, and I will share with you that you are one of those people that I had sized up as never. I didn't even consider the fact that you had ever had a big weight loss.
Wow.
I was just like, oh yeah, she's probably been that way all her life, and just loves nutrition and what have you. And never did I consider that you had such an amazing story of struggle and weight loss, right?
Wow.
And so now
sorry, and I'm going to cut you off because what's crazy too is, as you recall, we were supposed to attend that conference, I guess we'll call it, at the end of February, and we ended up instead meeting in the beginning of April. And the end of February, I was like not in a good place at all. I was in a dark place coming out of COVID. We had an extra year here in Canada. At Christmas last year, we still couldn't eat in a restaurant. And I just had enough, and I was eating my feelings. I was like, and talk about shame of, here now we've been invited to go to this thing, and I'm going like, I can't show up like this. So, to literally, and this is where, guys, it's knowing too that the journey doesn't end, and the key is never give up on yourself. And we're gonna make mistakes. We're human, right? We're gonna have slip ups. We're gonna have moments that feel like they take us out. So again, you can choose to stay there, or you can choose to I know that there is that thing, that other way of doing things. There is a better way. I feel better. I have more confidence, all of those things. It's possible. And that's why I love the name of your podcast.
Yeah, right.
Life is possible. Never give up on yourself. I have clients, I don't know about you, John, but they've literally, 4 times I'm back again, hopefully this is the time that it does. And I would say to people, never quit showing back up. Never quit showing back up, because it will stick when you're ready to have it stick, and you're ready to know that you're worth it. Have it, it's sticking, it will stick. So
and that's it. It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
No, as a skater, right? As a figure skater, this is another analogy I use a lot. So, if you work hard, you train, I skate morning, noon, and night. I'd skate before school, at my lunch hour, and 3 hours after school every day, gearing up for a test or for a competition. And there was plenty of times where I'd show up, fully prepared for a skating test, and have an off day and literally like wipe the ice. Did I say, okay, that's it, I quit, I'm done, I suck, I'm never skating again in my life? No, but that's what people do. People make a mistake, they have a weak moment, they eat pumpkin pie, and then that's it, I quit, I suck. They all the time. So, all right, you had a bad moment. All right, we move forward, and we do better moving forward.
Yeah. Hey, so one last concept that I love your spin and your story about, that you brought up to me, that I think is an everyday discussion in our clinics. The concept of cheating, right? Talk to us about the concept of cheating and your spin or your take on that.
My little story, my other
Yeah.
story. So many years ago, when I first, I was fairly new at this, and so I had a husband and wife that I was working with at the time, and I was going away for a week. So I had said to them, okay, buy your 2 weeks worth of food, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, kind of thing.
Yep.
So they come in for their next appointment, and it's just the husband, and they have their son, and he has a son with them. So, young kid, and he's kind of sitting in the chair, kind of doing one of these. So
Yep.
whatever, I'm yakking with his dad, and dad sort of does the, I asked him a question, and I could tell from his answer that there was something hanky. And then finally came out that, well, yeah, we cheated last week because, we knew we had a week to make
Yep.
up for it. We had a
Yep.
week to kind of clean up the mess before you got back.
Diet
And
mentality. Yep.
so the kid sitting there, he goes, oh yeah. He says, so I guess I'll be cheating a little bit on my math test tomorrow. And in the moment, I was like, you little brat. I just thought like you. And then I thought about it a little bit longer, and I was like, oh my gosh, the kid gets it. Like
Yeah,
the
right.
kid gets it, and he was totally calling his dad out because there's no such thing as, well, I just cheated a little bit.
Right.
I say to clients all the time, like, can your husband just cheat on you a little bit?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
no, but when it comes to food, that's what we do to ourselves. It was
Yep.
just a little cheat. It was just a little, that's how we justify it. But there's no degrees of cheating at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
it
It's like being
it
a little
just
bit pregnant.
right?
Right? Well, I mean,
Yeah,
you either are or you aren't. This is the same thing. You either cheated or you didn't, right?
that's right. That's right. And it's another lie that we can tell ourselves that doesn't serve us. It doesn't
No.
serve us at all. This is another area. Own your truth. Own your it's like me with my thyroid, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, I had a thyroid issue, but it really wasn't as much of an issue as I was making it. It was what I was putting in my face was really
Right.
the issue. So I had to own my story. And until I was willing to own it, I was going to stay stuck. So it's the same as, do you want to live your life, as a cheater? Or do you want to, step into owning, that I'm going to empower myself by
Ah,
doing this and doing it like 100%, because we
right.
know, right? What's the IPism? 100% gets you 100%
Percent of the
results.
results, right?
99% gets you zero,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not all just about, like, how many times have you had somebody cheat and then they get on the scale and they still lost, and then they're like, oh, I got away with it.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, you didn't, because this program is not just about what the scale tells you. It's about that entire metabolism reset. It's about
Yep.
that pancreas reset and
Yep.
honoring that. Plus, it's honoring the pact that you make with and for yourself.
There it
With and
is.
for yourself.
Woo! So yes, and we talked about this too, the concept of accountability, right? That book that Dawn gave us, the 12-week year, right?
Mhm.
Their concept of accountability that they bring up. Why is it that we find it so much easier to be accountable for other people and make commitments to other people, right? Yet we
Mhm.
can't keep one to ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Keeping a commitment to somebody else creates great relationships, but keeping a commitment to yourself, well, that creates integrity, self esteem, and
Mhm.
ultimately success. And
That's
so,
right.
like you said, everything is a choice. All
100%.
you all you have to do is, like you said, own your choice, own your consequence, be accountable to yourself first, and then come tell me about it, right? That's kind of how I feel like we should be operating as accountability partners. I'm like, again, I went to Catholic school growing up, and the nuns wore the habits and the whole deal, and they had the rulers, and you get whacked if you don't reduce me to the teacher with a ruler who's going to slap your hand because you had the candy bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
that's not the accountability person I want to be. That's not it.
No, and that's not my my job, right? My job is not to judge you. My job is to empower you, to give you as much knowledge and understanding, but I can't do it for you. That's where, I can lift you up, I can give you, tools and information, and then it's
Yeah.
up to you what you choose to do with the tools and the information, right?
Yeah.
And the tools and the information of this program, oh, like, take a hold of them, take a hold.
Right.
Oh, they're
Right.
incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Mhm.
Well, Stephanie, I just want to thank you so much for spending the time with us this evening. I think that
Thank
we've covered
you.
a lot of ground. I think there's so many great nuggets in there that people are gonna learn from.
Mhm.
How do people find you in your town?
Um, yeah. So here's our email. Email is a great way to reach out. You can phone or text us. The phone number here, 519-312-0599. I am in Ontario, Canada, but for anybody in the US, I'm literally right on the Michigan border. Um, we have the ability now to, as Ideal Protein coaches, to coach virtually. Um, so there's lots of opportunities, but
Yeah.
here, what's that?
So you had kind of told me, and I keep trying to get a visual of where your town is in
Yeah.
relationship to the United States. It's across the lake, right?
Oh, yeah. Across the river, actually.
Across the
So
river. Okay.
um, in about 2 minutes, if I walk out my clinic door and I turn left and I walk like just a nice leisurely walk, about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, my toes will be on the shore of the St. Clair River, and
Okay.
the blue water bridges are literally above my head, and I can stand and wave to Port Huron, Michigan.
Wow.
So we are that close. So I live right at a border, like one of the busiest border crossings from Canada to the US, is literally out my clinic door.
Oh, that's
And
neat.
yeah, so I love our proximity. I'm in my car and I'm in Detroit in an hour. So, we love the
Wow.
Detroit area. So I really kind of feel, like I've always kind of had one foot in the
Yeah.
US as well, because we are so close. And yeah, I'm fortunate to live where I live. So I love it here. It's a great community. Come and visit. Come and
Yeah.
visit.
Well, it sounds lovely. It sounds just beautiful up there.
We live
I
where the St. Clair River opens up into Lake Huron. So to live on
wow.
one of the Great Lakes is pretty spectacular. Pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I'm sure it is. So I think the dead of July is probably the best time to visit. Otherwise, there's
Actually,
probably some snow.
it's not as bad as people think because of where we are located.
Okay.
We really get the seasons here, and because of we get lake effect, that a
Yes.
lot of times where we are, it could be snowing even an hour up the lake, and it's not snowing here. So
Wow.
we get really sheltered where we are, compared to a lot of other areas in Ontario. So yeah, we're very fortunate, very fortunate.
Wow. All right. Well, like I said, thank you so much, Stephanie.
And thank
And
you.
oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Hang out backstage real quick, and I'll be right back to you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, man, I tell you, I do think that we got even more out of Stephanie tonight than I expected. I knew that she was going to share some things with us that we hadn't even talked about. Those are always the best things, as it turns out, when we're doing these shows. So again, thank you for tuning in tonight to the Life Possible podcast. As always, please like and subscribe the show. We are both on audio and video. I'm on audio on all the platforms, so iTunes, Spotify, Google, etc. Pass this on to your friends. Pass this on to people that you know need to hear that they are not the only one, who you're trying to be the guide for them, and you are trying to help them start their own ideal protein journey. And until next time, I'm going to implore you to keep shooting for your life possible.